he was experiencing when that happened. So my brother was labelled with challenging behaviour from a very, very young age. Challenging behaviour meaning that they don't conform. Simple as that, really. So his behaviours challenged the system, challenged society, and therefore the label meant that they were entitled to do certain things to him in the system, restrict him, prevent him, all of those things. So during his growing up, he got moved from school to school, never learned sign language. So my brother's communication is very, very limited, very, very limited. And because of that, his frustrations are heightened. So if you can't communicate, you can't say how you feel, you can't say what you're thinking, so no one will ever understand you. And as he's grown older, he still lives at home. We grew up with him, so his life experience has always been with the family. So we've learned what you call natural sign. So our natural sort of communication with him is just within the family, that natural sign. So he knows by facial expression, he knows even by body language, he knows by just that sensitivity. He's got a connection with us, but that's it within the family. Outside in the wider world is a bit of an alien, because he can't link in, communicate with anyone else. So the work I started to do started to uncover more and more of this kind of thing going on with lots and lots of people in different settings, either at home or worse still, in residential settings. Those that I came across in residential settings raised my eyebrows to the point where I couldn't believe in some instances what I was seeing, because we were living at a time when people were saying things are changing, you know, we're more diverse, we have an understanding now, we know how to look after your hair, we know how to do these things. But I didn't see that. I didn't experience that. I went to meet people in residential settings that their life experience was traumatic because their hair was in such a state, nobody knew what to do with it, so they left it. And if you leave, I don't know, anybody with black hair, if you leave your hair, it will end up like mine, but worse. Because mine is been taken care of. So, you know, when you have dreadlocks, it's because you don't comb your hair. But these people were experiencing, nobody just knew what to do with their hair. So because they didn't, they just left it. And I went and tried to educate. One of my jobs was to try and help people, to help them to look after the people that they were was in their care. And as time went on, I had many people come to me, and I was grateful for the fact that they could come to me and ask me, how do we do this? How do we do that? So I recognise there is a need for a service for people from BME communities. They need to have something they can identify with. So a lot of my work was focused on developing those kind of services. So I spent the 19 and a half years in the job I had at the time developing services that met the needs of BME communities. So we had eventually got to the point, we developed a group and we called the group Roots, and it was a group of African Caribbean members with learning disabilities. They all had different learning disabilities, some had physical disabilities as well. And the point of the group was to create an opportunity or a platform for people with learning disabilities from black and minority ethnic communities who recognise themselves as someone of colour, someone of culture, and wanted that to be known, to have a platform to have that voice, but to have that voice not just within themselves, but to link in with services. So we created this opportunity for them to be able to speak to GPs. So we went on, GPs had, GP surgeries all in the whole of Leeds had a conference period where over a period of weeks they went to different conferences and had different subjects, and we put ourselves in there. So they had no choice but to answer the questions. They had to, because this was an opportunity people like these never get, because there isn't the need in society because they're not important enough. So this is a big issue that because they're not important enough, they're not recognised. So even within the big campaigns that you see go on in terms of equality and all those things, often disability is at the bottom of the pile, nobody's recognising it. And for those, like my brother, whose voice is non-existent, can't speak, so can never tell anyone how he feels. Somebody needs to be a voice for that. Somebody needs to say, these people have a life and have a life experience that because they can't communicate that shouldn't matter, because they're human and they have feelings. My brother is a very unique individual, and sometimes when I start to tell his story about him, the person, I find him so intriguing, and I tell the story millions of times. But he's such an interesting individual because of the life that he's had, and I feel blessed that as a family we've been able to cocoon him in the love and support of the family, because I feel without that, because I've seen the devastation and the trauma that it can cause people who don't have that, you know. And this is why for me it was really important that somebody stood up for people in this category, because otherwise society will inevitably leave them to one side. Because some of you may be aware, a lot of the establishments that are set up for people with disabilities are far away, out on the rim, on the edge, on the hill, in the desert. They're not in society. And this was a time, you know, this was a time that people felt that they shouldn't really be part of society. This has all come historically, it's very historic. I'm just going to say this because I feel it's relevant. The Queen and the royal family have disability in the family that was hidden because of shame. So it was already recognised that having disability in your family is a shameful thing, it's a negative, it's a bad thing. So they hid them away. And that message, because the royal family is very important to a lot of people, that message bled out to society and infected everyone. So people's perception is what influences how you act, how you think, what you do, the decisions you make, and those kinds of things influence our society. So the media is responsible, the politicians are responsible, all these people in power who have not recognised that unheard or that voiceless person in society, and recognise that they have just as much feelings as anyone else and just as much rights as everyone else. That for me was a really, really important thing, to acknowledge that if the top end of society has shunned them out, then they've got no chance if somebody on the ground doesn't actually pick up the baton for them and say, okay, well, I'm going to fight for you because I think you're worth it. And for me, from a personal perspective, my brother is really important to me, and it's important that I tell his story and that I share, because his story is a million other people's stories that are out there living their lives or trying their best to live their lives in a society that doesn't suit their needs, that has never been designed to meet their needs, has actually been designed not to meet their needs. And coming from a BME community makes that discrimination double. So when I worked with the group Roots, we had a strap line that said that we experienced double discrimination, because in their life experiences, it wasn't just the fact that they had a disability, it was also the fact that they were from a BME community too. So they had all this going on in their lives, but no support. There was nothing there for them. And I think for me, the work that I did, it had an impact, because a lot of those people gained confidence, developed in a lot of ways. One of our members had amazing skills in computing. Nobody recognised it. Nobody did anything for this individual. But we used to utilise his skills within the projects. So whenever we had something that needed a videographer, he'd be the person that would say, right, get your video camera, come down, you take he'd go home and edit it, he'd put it all on and bring it. But no one outside, in the outside world, recognised the skills he had. He now works in a computer shop. You know, so sometimes I think if you give people life chances and opportunities to actually be someone and to show their worth, they will. Just that the society we live in currently doesn't provide that opportunity. But I'm hoping that what I'm hearing in this room, that there's actually a campaign that will hopefully open up those doors, because what you would, your speech there was very powerful, touched me. It really touched me, because a lot of what you're saying, it resonates with me very, very well, because it's hitting home the reality. Yeah, and it's a conversation we don't often have, because people, who wants to talk about that? You know, who wants to know? And it's that idea. I remember having many conversations in the early years of my work with, am I doing okay for time? Yeah. Okay. Okay. With social services who were saying, you know, in theory, that they wanted to make change. And I would have many, many meetings, and one particular one stuck in my mind, because I sat with this gentleman who was doing some research about how to change the social services and make them more accessible, make them more diverse, make them more amenable to people. And I sat with him a good couple of hours talking through some of the things that I've found in my work, some of the issues I've identified, and supported him with solutions, because I'm a very solution-focused person. So I don't just tell you what the problems are, I will help you find the solutions too. So we went through this whole thing, and he was writing down throughout, nodding his head, writing down throughout the whole period. And then at the end of it, he said, oh, I don't think we're going to be able to do any of this. I just thought to myself, well, I've just sat here and wasted 2 hours of my life I'll never get back to give you something you're just going to turn on and tell me, this is too hard. But a lot of what I was telling him then is starting to happen now. So I am hopeful that sometimes when you plant a seed, it might not grow straight away. It might take a little bit of nurturing, a little bit of prompting, a little bit of taking care of, but keeping an eye on. And eventually it'll start shooting. And then when you see the flower, you'll know something real has happened.
Just before you move on, can I just say you missed out a very important bit when you started that route.
Yes.
You gave the people the voice, and they were able, wherever they went,
that's true.
After you built the confidence to speak.
That's true.
And you know, they were speaking on behalf of everybody, who were able to articulate it.
Yeah.
And from what you do, I'm a councillor in Leeds City Council.
Yes, she is, yeah. She knows about it.
Yeah. And from there, the council have taken it on.
Yeah.
We also had a councillor who's left now, retired, who championed the disability.
That's
so
right.
here in Leeds, it's up there.
It has.
It's really up there. But from the roots where you started and gave them, and our own people were so ashamed to have a disabled child. That's right. And that made such a big difference. We still need to move on though. We still need to keep it going. But that group made such a difference. And a lot of people don't know. Little Acorn.
That's right. I know.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, while you were talking, you missed out that little bit that you gave them a voice and they were able to go. When they went anywhere, people had to listen.
They did.
They might have taken 10 minutes to say something. They had to listen.
That's right.
And that's what made the difference. You gave them their voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Amazing. Can I get you to say the other thing that I think is something that we don't talk about is disabilities and sexuality?
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah.
And sexualities, I should say. So not to go into it too much, but I just thought one of your initiatives, which I
one of my initiatives during the period of time that I worked with people with disabilities, there was a big issue about people with disabilities and sex and relationships and love and marriage and babies and all these things. And it seemed like there was a big dark cloud, a taboo, over the idea that people should want love or want a relationship or want to have sex and, you know, be frivolous, you know, all these normal things that we just naturally expect to do when we get to a certain age. So I decided that what I wanted to do originally was I wanted to set up a dating agency. So that was my original idea. But I realised that needed a lot of funding, needed lots of things. So I thought, okay, where do we start with this idea? So I decided to set up call it speed dating. So we did a speed dating event, which we set up, and we had one of our staff dressed in his bow tie and suit, and was the sort of master of ceremonies, brought people in, and we really treated people as they should be treated. And we had couples there, sat at tables, who in their own sort of environments, they weren't allowed to be couples, they weren't allowed to do that, they were kept apart. So we had couples at tables with the candles, having their meal, being a normal couple. And that experience for a lot of those people really gave them a boost. So relationships, then they felt, well, I'm allowed. Yeah. I'm allowed to love someone, I'm allowed to say I fancy that person. And for other people to encourage that and not discourage it. So we kind of kick-started this idea that it's actually okay. And I'll support you. You know, me and my sister, we supported this young woman one-to-one for a period of time, who this other member fancied her. So we decided to play Cupid, and we decided, okay, we're going to set you up on a date. But the young woman was being supported anyway by the both of us. But it was we thought, well, what we'll do is we'll set up this date. We'll take her on the date, and then we'll go sit over there. We'll set them sit over there, just be out of eye shot, as you do. And they had an amazing, fantastic day, and we did it a couple more times after that, until obviously the circumstances changed. But that's the kind of thing I feel people who want life experiences, they need to be able to just be normal, and to feel that everyone in society accepts that too, and that it's okay, you know, to fall in love. So yeah, that's that.
Thank you. Thank you. I love hearing you speak. Just makes my heart kind of sing a little bit. And all the work, and also what you were saying before, all the work that you've done for free.
Yes.
As well,
yes,
sis. All the stuff that you do just out of your own heart.
Yeah, because passion is passion.
Absolutely.
You know, and I do have motivation for why I want to do these things.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Thank you, Jude.
You're welcome.
Okay.
What act to follow, eh?
Mr. Michael.
Yeah, I'm just privileged to be here, and to, you know, sit amongst such a fantastic, you know, speakers. You're doing amazing